everybody. We have a couple of people here who I don't think have been introduced. One I just met, Adele Conniff. Adele, she's from Parks and Rec, from the Darien Department of Parks and Rec.
From the RTM, Parks and Rec.
I'm sorry, RTM Parks and Rec. I got it. And Claire Hunter. Claire's a volunteer, and she's volunteered to be writing a lot of the text for the historical markers that we're doing. So we're working with Claire and Megan are working for the text. And I think everybody else hopefully knows one another, so welcome everybody. I've got the minutes from last meeting, August meeting, so here they are.
Is that the same ones you got in your email?
I do, yeah. So if you guys could, I have hard copies, but I'd appreciate it if in the email you read it before.
Okay.
Thank you.
Has anybody not read them from the emails that's on the committee? If everybody's read them, I guess we can vote. Is there a motion to vote on the acceptance of the August meetings?
Can I have a correction?
Sure.
My name is misspelled.
Oh, no, okay.
It's Papsun, like the sun in the sky.
Oh,
Not like sons and
okay.
daughters, it's sun in the sky.
I'm sorry, then that is my fault.
That's okay.
Is there any other corrections we have? Is there a motion to, once that correction is made,
I'll
to,
move it.
is there a second? Everybody who will vote on acceptance of the meetings with correction of Suzanne's surname with a U instead of an O, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, then voted, it was unanimously approved. So the next, oh, and I do have the agenda here as well. And we do have a quorum.
Got one.
Thank you.
And some of you may have not met Jim Long as well. He's a volunteer, and he's representing the Monuments and Ceremonies Commission. And he's back from Maine. So the next, the next thing on the agenda is finances and contributions. So thank you everybody for your estimates. I had a meeting with the Board of Selectmen on Monday, and they voted to approve to give to the RTM.
We move it forward, yeah.
Move it forward. So the rule is that anything over any donation over $10,000 has to be approved by the, correct me if I'm wrong, by the RTM, or maybe you can speak to that.
So we, the Board of Selectmen approves to put the motion forward for the RTM and the Board of Finance to accept a gift of $75,000 to be used for the 2020 celebration. So it goes from us to the Board of Finance to the RTM. And then the RTM will vote on the 23rd, September 23rd, to accept, what they're doing is they're accepting the gift of $75,000 that then can be raised and then allocated specifically just for the 2020 celebration. And it did go, it got on, what happens, it has to go on the Rules Committee also before the RTM, and that was done on Monday night also. So we will be on the agenda for the RTM meeting on the 23rd of September.
Susan and I will present. So I collated all the estimates. I'll give you I'll send my spreadsheet out to the members of the committee. We have to raise, to fund everything, I think, we have to raise $75,000. We're a little conservative on our estimates. We didn't want to lowball it and then have to go back and ask for money. That $75,000 that we're slated to raise does not include the $5,000 that were given to us from the town already, that we can spend now. And it does not include anything for the historical markers, because we're hoping to get a single sponsor to finance that. So it's $75,000 regardless of those two things. So that's it. We can spend the $5,000 now. We'll talk about the first mailings that, that $5,000 definitely covers that first mailings.
So that doesn't We can't spend that till the 23rd.
No.
We can't spend it until they approve it.
Right.
But the 5,000.
Oh, yes, that I know.
Yes, I'm
but
sorry, yeah.
The 75, if
Yeah.
it came in.
It's technically 10 days after the 23rd,
Okay.
to be really specific, and that would be really incredible if we did it all.
Yes,
clean.
yeah.
Yeah, so we got a little ways to wait, but we can't spend the $5,000. So we are accepting donations now, and everybody out in TV land. We would appreciate donations. You can mail a check. Please mail them to the town of Darien, 2 Renshaw Road, Darien, Connecticut, 06820. And on the envelope, please put attention 2020 Bicentennial Committee. Also on the check, please write, noted on the check that, a comment that it's for the 2020 Bicentennial. So in our estimates, using the $5,000, we're good for the first mailing of the EDDM. We'll talk about that. That should go out. I'm going to start printing it today. That should go out, and it will also cover the $450 that was earmarked for the wife of the Thaddeus Bell gravestone. And we will have maybe $1,000 or $1,500 left over after that. However, the estimates for the opening ceremony, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, was $5,000. So we'll have to raise for the opening ceremony to do everything we want to do in an opening ceremony. We'll have to raise about $3,000 or $4,000, and that's by June 10th. January 10th, I'm sorry. Do you know when I write checks now and put the dates, I write 2020 because I'm sorry. 2019.
You're ready. You just think in advance.
You are ready. Anyway, so that's the money we have to, first item in business is the money we have to raise for January. It's $3,000 to $4,000. We will have 3 outreach meetings, which I think Maggie will talk to a little bit when we do communications. The next is the events. Opening ceremonies, we have a new volunteer, Martha Peretta. She's actually works in planning and zoning. So she's been very instrumental in helping us with some of the things. We do have a tentative keynote speaker. I'm not going to announce him right now. It'll be a formal one. I think it should be with a press release. Let's do it that way. Maybe a little later we'll have a press release. We're very excited about it. He's very, very well known. Anyway, we have Martha, Lisa, Kate, Meg, and myself with the committee for the opening ceremony. So it will be held in the auditorium of Town Hall, June 10th. January 10th, that is, in the evening. We're going to have the keynote speaker. He'll speak for about 25 or 30 minutes. We're inviting a lot of dignitaries, state representatives, as well as federal representatives to attend. We'll have one of them, the ranking dignitary, speak. Of course, Jamie, you'll speak this one as well. We plan on hopefully some music and a slideshow as well. After that, there'll be a champagne toast at the Darien Historical Society. There'll also be a book signing there. We plan on some other festivities at the Historical Society. For Anniversary Day, there are 3 volunteers. I think I mentioned this. We have 3 volunteers that are Annette, Brian, Luca, Sethu, and Cindy Banks, and one of them is sitting here. They're doing a lot of work on that so far. And Heritage Day, we have the lead Karen Bocadora, who's also reenacting. She's the lead on Heritage Day. Any question about the events? For the logo and education, the logo is out. Sarah can make a donation. She's sick, but she's got a lot of activities planned. She'll update you as they go along. I know she has got to go through the Board of Education, so we don't want to get too involved in this until everything is approved. But she'll be updating you. And Lisa Berry is also going to volunteer. She's the Middlesex Middle School teacher. We had a very, very good event at the Darien Historical Society last week, 2 weeks ago possibly, where we invited all the elementary, high school, and middle school social studies and history school teachers there.
Very
They talked a lot about the society, a lot about the history. They learned a lot.
Lori.
No, I've been wanting them to get.
It was
Yeah.
actually
Yeah,
that
talk about that a
way.
little bit.
The middle school and high school social studies teachers, and it was really fun. They were there for 3 hours, and the education volunteers brought them around the Bates Schofield Museum, and we had this whole presentation on bicentennial plans and also the town's history, just like a quick overview of the town's history up until 1820. So it was a lot of fun. And
Nice.
Al, you
Did
presented
they-
on the markers, right, too?
Yeah,
And,
the 2020, whole 2020.
yeah, everybody kind of pulled together, and it was a
Did
nice morning.
can they incorporate it into some things that they're doing next year, do you think?
I think that Sarah is working with the Board of Ed to offer suggestions at every grade level.
Right.
And we told them about that that's coming and to expect it. And I think that maybe, I'm hoping that they got some ideas about the town's history, and because there were 2 teachers who had grown up here, but the others were kind of new to the area and new to the jobs, and so it was a really good overview of the history. So,
And I misspoke, it's actually Lucy Berry, I think I said Lisa Berry, it's actually
Oh.
Lucy Berry that is gonna be a teacher coordinator to work with Sarah.
Oh,
as a
very
volunteer.
cool.
Great.
And she's
That's
very
nice.
nice.
yeah.
Really great.
So everyday direct mail, Maggie's got some hard copies of the, we can pass on.
Jay said that they're gonna be a little bit more glossy, like kind of
Okay.
this kind of gloss. But, yeah.
Oh.
Thank you to
That's terrific.
Yeah, so
Sarah and.
communication, Maggie, Sarah,
And
and
thank you,
Susan.
thank you very much.
So
Everybody.
professional,
No, it really does really
A
look
really
fantastic.
wonderful designer, and
Really
she's gonna be
stand out.
working with us, and she
Yeah.
did it all for free, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
Um,
Great.
And I hope everybody took a look at the Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
Well,
nice
thank you
job.
very much.
Very much.
I have a copy if anyone doesn't.
Yeah, good job.
Anyway, this is good, it's really, really good press, the logo's on there,
Yeah,
the events
it's
are
good.
on there.
When is the next Parks and Rec brochure go out?
Our
Is it-
spring, summer, it'll go out in February, March,
And what is your printing deadline?
February.
Oh, okay.
Like for sponsors, so we have some time if we wanted to include some sort of,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I would start really getting into that. We have an event, it's usually the second weekend of February, and then I attack the brochure right after that. And then cause our registration will start end of March, so we would need it in mailboxes before then.
okay, so the deadline,
Deadline
we
for
had
us.
discussed somehow thinking.
I would say end of February is.
So I think we should give ourselves like a January 15th, and if we have a little bit of, like, if we're trying to get sponsors to, that's one of the things we're saying to them, that they would be acknowledged.
Mhm.
We would need their commitment by then,
So again, thanks Sarah and Susan and Maggie and Lori, everybody who did work on the postcard, the first mailing. I'm gonna turn it on the printer unless anybody has objections. I think we've all reviewed it online. We'll start today, printing it, and then we'll do the mailing.
I have one other point to make.
Absolutely.
We have overruns. Remember, we have the postcard overruns. So we can decide what to do with the overruns and when we want to use the overruns. They can be distributed here in bulk in town hall. They could be given to real estate firms. We can delay and use them for January and, save them instead of giving them out now. Just some thoughts on
Absolutely.
using
How
the
many,
overruns.
how many?
Well, I think we ordered a
83,
printing of 9,000,
Okay.
and so,
It's like 83.75 or something like that.
Yeah.
I got it written down.
so it would be, we rounded it up to 9.
Great.
So
Yes.
we have,
8367 addresses, so there's 633.
remember, we are sending the card out, the
plan is to do the trifold folding card and send that out with the whole schedule of events in January. So, you know, now that this is complete, we gotta start to work on, think about that trifold. So, we can have overruns of that card
I think that's a good idea.
and, you know, use the overruns for this now.
Yeah.
And then you'd have that card, so you aren't confusing things, you don't have too many cards, you know, out there. It's just something for the group to think about, how we wanna use these cards now.
Maybe they use like a library also?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I think there's another suggestion is the, I don't know what she goes by, is it New Neighbors? It used to be the Welcome Wagon, but the New Neighbors, she can also put them in.
Oh, yeah, I know the welcome wagon.
It's
Yeah.
a
Good
cat,
idea, the welcome
cat.
wagon.
It's Catherine Sakara, but it's
Right.
real small, the
Okay.
amount that she's gonna be doing, and they go quiet in December. So, you know, that's not gonna give you
That's
the
true.
bulk.
Okay,
of what
I know
you
through the
need.
bookstore
I-
that she doesn't.
I
Well, it's
know.
just New Neighbors, because theory is existing residents will get the card in the mail.
She might see 20
Yeah.
people from
Oh,
now
I don't
to.
disagree, but it's the same, it's just kinda like giving it to the
Another
real
place.
estate
Yeah,
agents too.
yeah,
Same with us, I
Just
mean,
one
we would put it in like the buyer packets for people moving to town, but it wouldn't be huge, but
Right,
it's
it's the same
still.
kind.
The real estate agents would probably be a bigger chunk, you know, and have them at, maybe, you know, when new residents come in, they might, you could have them at the records department, you could have them at Park and Rec, you could have them at the front table.
What about having them in,
Voter
just in some of the downtown businesses?
That's
Yeah,
like a poster one,
registration.
it's like a poster of some sort.
Just, well, that's an option, posters are an option. Maybe when we get things a little bit more solidified in the spring, to put some posters up, but if we have these overruns, like say you're in, you know, Meat or wherever, one of the places, Brown and Company or one of the clothing stores, Kirby and Company, it just seems like, I don't know, something that people might look up and take, I don't know,
Put it on the counter.
yeah, that counter giveaway.
Because there might be out-of-towners might be interested in coming to some of the things also, that out-of-towners shop and might be
Churches,
interested.
This is our own
churches could
party.
be-
No, but I'm just saying, you know.
Churches would be a nice place to have it.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Churches.
Right, absolutely. That'll be good.
Town,
Even if people get in the mail, that's a,
It's
have
very
them see it
community.
somewhere else is, you know, it gets reinforced and everything.
Those are
I'm
good
taking two
ideas.
for my kids, so everybody can go have some around here as well. So it was, I can't believe the effort that Susan and I put into figuring out how to mail these things. And there's
Thank you.
And every
Yeah.
person,
Yes.
every person you talk to, you got a different story.
There's so many people, I went to Stanford to talk to the actual person who does the weighing and everything, and I went to Darien, Corbin Drive, talked to them. So it turns out there's 3 ways you can mail it. The one is just regular mail, which is the most expensive, we're not doing that. The next is called EDDM bulk mail, which you need a permit for, which we're using, we have authorization from the town to use their permit, and we're using their permit. The other way is a nonprofit. The town is not considered a nonprofit as far as these mailings are concerned. Typically, a nonprofit, and I've read a lot of the US Postal Service literature on this. Nonprofit is,
Aren't you glad?
oh my God, I know.
Good times.
Typically, if the funds are derived from taxpayers, that's not considered, according to them, a nonprofit. A nonprofit is strictly through donations. So since this mailing
Let's give it a
is,
time.
everything from the $5,000 that the town generously gave us was from tax dollars, we cannot use it. Additionally, to do the nonprofit, you have to get IRS forms, they want to audit financial records, forget it. So we're doing the next best thing, which is the EDM bulk mail. If I drop it off at Stanford, which they have to weigh it, but if they do the mailing, it's 225.225 postcard or a mail. If I take it after they weigh it in Stanford and bring it to Darien, it's 162. So I'm saying this because we were hoping to get the nonprofit, which was about 12 cents. So instead, we'll either do the 22 cents or hopefully we'll do the 16 cents. So we did vote on allocating about $240. I'm sorry, Yeah, $2,400, or $2,400 for that. It will be more, depending on if we go to Stanford or Darien. It's the best we can do. We did a lot of research, so I think we'll have to up this for a vote. Do we have a vote to increase the total to either the Stanford or the Darien rates? Do we have a second?
I move, I second.
Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed say nay. Any abs? any abs-
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you really gonna have to drive them, like, from one to the other?
No, you know what happens is the printer will collate them, because he has to collate them, there's different routes and goes, and he bundles them. But they have to weigh them and
You could be
make
a
sure it's the right
consultant on
size.
this
Yeah.
Your new job.
And they only do 5,000 a day, so you have to do it on 2 separate days.
You gotta break them up.
So you will get a job for, in the post office.
So the next
You have to
time
do
we get
runs,
a bulk
that's great.
mailing, we all have to think about
Yeah.
how much work went.
And the next
Working on
time
one
I
right
get,
now.
we get these every day. I get, oh, it's amazing how much. Anyway, okay, so that's, Wheat Beach Festival, Jamie?
Yeah, so I just had a couple of things. One, I wanted to set up a subcommittee meeting. I just wanted to confirm I know my subcommittee. I have,
Okay.
Who they are?
so I think it's, well, you and Maggie would be involved regardless, and then Kate Larson, Lisa Shanahan, Tracy, Sarah Keena, and Susan Marks, and Sarah Woodbury.
That is correct.
Yeah, I thought I was on it.
Yeah. You
Yes,
thought you were on
I
it.
didn't write your name down, but now that I'm looking at you, yes, you're on it.
I'm sure Sarah Keena is on it. I wonder if that's another Sarah mix-up. We have her on.
I think it was, yeah, you should take her off.
Okay.
I was
because
on it
she-
because we had,
Correct.
we already did this, we had so much fun last year.
Oh
We
gosh, yes.
I just gave it separated from Jamie.
Okay,
Right, so
I just wanted to
it
make sure
was-
before
she
I
was
sent
on-
out an email that I had everyone, I didn't leave anyone out.
Anybody else?
Anybody who wants to be on this, raise their hand now.
I'll volunteer with it.
Okay, great, I'll take it.
PAPSUN.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll spell your name right.
Thank you.
Okay, Susan.
Oops, actually,
And-
I wrote it down wrong, but I corrected it.
Z with a Z, not an S.
I got it, Susie. Today I'm speaking with our cooking instructor. We talked about kind of taking the cake idea that we did last time and making it on a grander scale, so we're discussing that later today.
She's great, by the way. She's did an amazing job, and she's so good with the kids. So you're talking about the women who did. Oh my God, it was really, really great. And for her to do that for the birthday, does everyone know what she did? I mean,
No.
Is
Do you
that
wanna
the
tell
lady that was
quickly?
beside us at the?
yeah. Do you want to explain real quickly?
So essentially our cooking instructor, so we were last year celebrating the 10th birthday of the Playground by the Sound. So that was kind of how I partnered with Sarah initially over that. And then, so our cooking instructor got involved and did little mini birthday cakes. And initially we were like, oh, 40 I think is good. And then we ended up doing closer to 70, which
Yeah.
she just kept whipping out more cakes. I don't know.
She kept squeezing, like the sign up thing happened immediately, and she was like, well, I can fit one more kid in here. I mean, and she gave each child individual conversation. She was so into the kids. She had every possible, I mean, it was like a magic trick bag of things the kids were decorating the cakes with.
So that's the,
That's
so
cute.
is the concept,
So we would, so
So they
last
just-
year it was like we had separated up into like time slots and you had to register and we did it throughout the day.
yeah,
And then the idea was everyone coming together at the end and we had one of the bands sing happy birthday, one of like the live bands, when they were finished, they did the happy birthday. But it was kind of hard to gather
It was-
people, so,
People were having too much fun to sing.
yeah.
It was
So
fun.
the idea, I think, this time that we'd like to do would be doing almost everyone at one time, like, because we'll have more hands in theory. So we could set up a bunch of tables like right in front of the stage during one of the band breaks and just have all the kids do all the cakes at the same time and it'd be, and then do some sort of like cakewalk type situation where they could show off all their decorated cakes in front of everyone and then we could really
So fun.
celebrate together and do the birthday. Because then happy birthday would work if you had everyone together and you're not just like
Yeah.
looking for kids in the.
But the
So-
kids really had fun with the cake, you know? I mean, and you know what? If for us, when they didn't want to sing happy birthday because they were having fun doing other festival stuff, that's great, you know? So it was fine, but she just, Lisa, right, was the woman, she really put her heart into this, she put a lot of time into it, and it was very popular, so that was a great thing she's doing.
So I'm hoping, I know that she is very interested in being involved again, so I'm just gonna kind of pitch the new concept and then see what she would need from us, because last year she did everything for free.
Wow.
So, I would kind of need to see what, depending on what scale we wanted to do it and what she would need from us, so. Looking forward to that conversation and hopefully it goes well.
So Adele's here, representing the RTM, Parks and Rec. Do you have any questions? Jamie is the lead on the birthday.
I know where she lives. I'm good, thank you.
So that's a repeat. The next is the historical marker project. I got estimates on that. We're moving forward on that. I went to P&Z again and talked to Jeremy Ginsburg. What he said is we should go to the Architectural Review Board for the ones on the town, which is next week, and I'm on the agenda. And if they approve it as a historical marker or historical monument, it really doesn't need a town permit. You still need a state permit, which is $35, which I think is really more just paperwork than anything else. But as far as the town is concerned, as far as P&Z is concerned, they're pretty good with it if the Architectural Review Board accepts it.
Is
I'm
it
also-
$35 per
I think-
marker?
No, I think, I'm not sure.
Or just
Oh,
in general?
I just got an email just a couple of days ago to check that. I'm not sure that, I still have to iron it out.
And are we definitely doing 12 markers?
No, the number is gonna be less than 12, but we're still kind of deciding on how many.
Still
It's gotta
negotiating.
start- Still negotiating. And I'm meeting with Parks and Rec. I've got a presentation that I showed Jamie next week. Hopefully we'll have two, Tilly Pond is one of them. So two of them go there, so I'm meeting with them. But I think they know everything, we've talked to them.
Yes, so she'll send it out prior to the meeting when our director sends out her agenda. Everyone will receive the presentation, and then they can direct questions that they'd like to ask you. So as you're giving it, they've seen it before, it's not gonna be shocking information, and they can ask appropriate questions.
Okay.
Is
They ran into a pretty good example.
Yeah, where is that?
It's Ocean City, Maryland.
Oh, okay, so
Can you email
Oh,
us?
is that what ours are
What's
gonna
that?
look
And
like?
who's the manufacturer?
Very similar.
It's very similar, the
Same manufacturer, different one?
Probably a different one.
G-Force.
I
G-Force is the one.
I looked on it to see if I could find out, but I wasn't,
So the actual text.
I couldn't
and
go to town hall and find
The
it.
printing is the printing looks like exactly the same.
I know, it looks pretty darn on the money.
The
though.
scan
And
is
do
a
you know
little
how
bit
old that
different.
is?
This thing here is probably about 5 years old.
Yeah, so it looks like it's
That's
weathered
pretty
really
new.
well.
Yeah. Oh, this is like all at the national parks, you'll see all those kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, do you mind emailing that?
Yeah, email it.
I'll
Email
shoot
it
it
to
over
me
to
and I'll
Al.
shoot it to
Sure.
everybody. Sounds good.
And
I
do-
somewhat know your email, yeah, sure.
Do we have an official sponsor of the
Not yet, no.
markers?
Well, we sort of do.
I don't know if he's gonna do all of them, so.
No, it's in work.
It's in the works.
It's in the works. Anyway,
Thank you.
any other questions about the markers? So sponsorship, communications, Maggie, you want to talk to that?
Oh, sure. So a press release is going to go out probably today to all of you and then to the press about some community forums that we're planning. The first one's going to be here at Town Hall at 7 o'clock on September 25th. And the second one is going to be at November 20, well, there's three forums, but there's two public forums. And the second public forum is going to be on Thursday, November 21st at 11 a.m. at the Darien Library. And then at the Historical Society, we're also going to have a meeting with hopefully the faith community members to talk about the anniversary day celebration and coordinating the ringing of the bells. And so that's what we're doing. We have a PowerPoint presentation that is an overview of what the committee has been doing in its plans and events. So we'll be presenting those. So if you could join us on those days, that would be great. I'm just looking right now for the October 17th at the Historical Society at 11 a.m. But we also have to actually, I think, reach out to the email the faith community, all the different churches in town too. So.
Okay, anything else about sponsorship or town websites?
I just checked and it's not on the town website, on the front.
I
So
know,
I'm trying to
yes.
figure out where it is and I don't think,
It was, and then it gets scrolled as other events come on. So we were gonna talk with
seems
And
like
the
it
last
should be a
time I
permanent.
tried to donate, there's still no click to donate.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know how that's.
on there?
I don't think they're, okay, so the click to donate, we had some discussions with,
Jen.
yes, Jen, sorry. And I don't know if that's a possibility, just because of there's transactional things, how it goes in and out of the bank account. We had one sort of, I think it's gonna really be a check thing, however, I had a thought, which is one of our board members who's very tech savvy might be able to come up with something, but he's out of the country right now, so. But in general, you know, we went through a bunch of scenarios. The problem is there is a fee associated. And so, you know, we would set up a form and it would go straight into the bank account of the town, but I think we'd have to set it up so that anybody who made a donation paid the transaction fee, because otherwise the town pays the transaction fee. And then there was some concerns about the form feeding directly into the town bank account. So if there's a way to do that, but right now it hasn't been resolved.
So is there a click to donate button that should come off of that?
No, I
And
don't
that's what I'm
think so.
saying, we can't do that, so it's basically everybody has to write a check.
Right.
What you could do is you could set up a crowdfunding page on Facebook, and you would have that link on the
Okay, so I
town.
talked to her about that kind of stuff,
And
and I believe
And
because
then
it's a
you
town, there
get
needs
the
to be a
check
paper
from
trail.
from
Give
the
Effect or whatever,
organization.
Yeah.
Because that's how we did our fundraising for the holiday lights, is we did a Facebook crowdfunding effort, and people donated, it went on their credit cards, and then a month later, we got the checks from
I thought you
the,
talked, I thought that had come up in our
I feel
conversation
like-
with Jen.
and there's no
She needed
fee.
more of a paper
Right.
trail
Yeah.
with that kind of stuff, cause I
How do
think,
you thank people and how do you reconcile?
yeah, I
those
feel
and-
like the town, and I'm, you know, we can have this conversation again, but I feel like we went through a bunch of those scenarios and you know, that crowdfunding isn't as easy for like nonprofits or thing, you know, like we couldn't do it for the nonprofit, and I believe the town felt like they had to have a paper trail for the transactions.
Did you discuss GoFundMe? Because that one actually specializes for.
No, you know, I'm not really in charge of this, I just had this
Yeah.
conversation, we were talking about the
Town
website,
office
so if
personality.
someone wants to be the point person on that, like maybe Susan or David that knows more about this, I don't really have
That's all I
experience in
know
those.
is what I've done
So-
on Facebook, and if that's
Is
not
there anybody that has experience in that?
acceptable.
I haven't done it
Because
for
I-
John before.
It's just different for anybody that works in a nonprofit than it is for government.
Right.
And that's
I think that's
the
where Jen
difference.
said, you know,
We
Yeah,
could
that's
probably
true.
go back to Jen and ask if the committee could set up a GoFundMe page. I'm also wondering if the organizations around the table could accept directed donations.
I actually asked her about that, if we could set up something, because we have like an infrastructure for donations, if we could have one and then just have it go to their bank account, and we explored that, and she did not feel like that was gonna work.
Well, I'm
Because it would be
trying,
like coming from us into,
yeah, I'd like
It
to,
looks like a scheme.
I'd like to explore that further. It might not be, you might not be able to link to the town's bank account, that makes good sense, but people might be able to direct donations to the Community Foundation or the Darien Historical Society for 2020.
yeah, see, I
And then
think
you guys
honestly,
make a contribution to the town, which is part of the 75 grand.
right, so I would say that for most nonprofits is gonna be a conflict of interest, because we're trying to operate ourselves, so that someone comes to my website and says, oh, I think I'm donating to the truck they just gave to person, but really it goes to, and we actually just had a long meeting with our auditors talking about making sure that all of this stuff, and I just don't think that
It also can change your tax filing
Yeah.
status, which is a problem for our foundation.
Got it.
When we did the fireworks and it changed our
Can I-
tax filing.
Can
I
I,
use
I
it
think
for-
we, like, we did explore and it doesn't seem like, it's a possibility, so if we could just make it really easier for people to, send checks, and I'm wondering, that brochure, the trifold, we had a trifold at the Historical Society a couple of years ago, where you could, it was perforated and it was also an envelope, and a self-adhesive that was like addressed to the town, so you could just stick your check in there and mail it, and it might be worth the
Yeah,
added
it's
cost
right.
of expense just to include that as an element in our next mailing, just to make it super easy for people.
and I mean, we have a board member who's extremely tech savvy, and I mentioned it to him, I think if I could get him and Jennifer in a room, maybe that he might be able to come up with something that worked, I don't know, that they could work out between them, but there were a lot of issues with that, so.
So Jamie, should I set up a meeting with Jennifer?
Sure.
Just to close out if we can't do
Right.
this, because it does come up.
Yeah, we explored a couple different things, we
Okay,
explored
I'll set up a
Venmo
meeting.
and.
I'll take that action.
So far, there hasn't been a call to action for checks, other than
Right.
in the press release.
Right, correct.
So far,
And this-
so I'm just putting myself in the, townspeople's shoes. They really haven't received
Absolutely.
anything, they haven't received any envelopes to put a check in, they haven't seen anything other than the last line of the press release.
Right.
So, can't expect
Do
them
we-
to just kind
absolutely
of know
not.
to write a check, so.
I'm a little confused though, because I thought we were gonna focus more on, I mean, it'd be great to get the town residents to write a check, but I thought that was gonna be just a supplement versus
It is.
raising, okay.
Yeah, but I think it would be good, I mean, we don't know how much money
You can get
sponsors will give
Yeah.
us, so
And
we'll
there
accept
was that
everything. and then-
people not wanting to leave anybody out.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, absolutely.
I just had a thought, in between when you're watching Channel 79, when they go between program to program, they have that blank time. I wonder if we can put like an ad, if you wanna call it that, a
Great
little flash
idea.
of the thing to say, hey, you
That's
know,
a
we're.
Great idea.
Saying if you wanna donate, you know.
Especially with
Thank
the
you.
age group that watches Channel 79, because they're probably more likely to be the ones that
I
write
can reach out
checks.
to Jim Cameron, I don't know if they're able to do that or not, basically solicit funds on there, but I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Well, you could
At
always
least put
have
the ad out that
you could
this
always
is
have a
coming up.
segment that's actually more like a infomercial, like a advertorial.
Right, but I don't know if Channel 79 is allowed to do that, so.
Well, it
But
could
even if
be
they have an
like
ad
an
for-
interview of the committee, somebody on the committee promoting the 2020, and
Right.
oh, by the way, if you want,
Yeah.
we accept donations too, instead of please donate.
Right, I think though, and we'll move on from this because we keep talking about this circly, is that one of the things we have to get the message out, because people are like, why do we donate? Like, I think people need to understand that this is sort of a grassroots movement to celebrate this, to make the events.
So what will also happen, and what will also help us is on the 23rd, when we go to the RTM, we should hopefully have 100 people in the RTM that will be hearing about this.
Okay.
So that will be a good way to start getting the word out. We're also, Al and I are also going to the Human Services Council next week to talk to them about what's going on. And we're also having another group reach out via email to all the organizations that march in the Memorial Day Parade to let them know what's going on and see how they can get involved. It's not just to solicit funds, but it's also to get them involved in the whole celebration. So we are starting with Maggie with the outreach, so there is gonna be some movement of getting the word out.
Yeah. So to raise the $75,000, there's really three pedestals to that stool. There's the sponsorship, which is probably the main one. There's individual contributions, which we're just talking about now. And there's also the selling of merchandise. We also expect to raise some funds, so there's actually three ways that we're raising funds. Selling of merchandise, selling of merchandise, so there's three ways, and I'll present that to the team as well. Another way is, we're thinking about doing banners that will hang on some of the lampposts. We have to go through a couple of wickets with the town, but these will be banners with our logo on it. And then on the banner, on the bottom of the banner, there will be notification that this was donated by either a company, a nonprofit, or it could be an individual, a family, or something like that.
Nice.
And do you know the cost of those banners?
We know that, I think it was $160 and
To make.
I think so. Did you do this? Oh, okay. We're looking into that.
we're looking into that, yeah, I should say that, yeah. That was not for these banners, that was for, I believe, some other town, they were larger, so probably
Right.
less than that.
But that would be
But
key to know that if we could do
Oh,
that
absolutely.
before we go out to
Yes.
Yes.
sponsor.
I think
Well, that's what
we
we're-
just
we're
kind
actually-
of do it.
Yeah, we're not
No, we
promising.
can't
So
promise
promise
it.
it, let's
Right,
go.
I'm
Absolutely.
going to the
So-
architectural review board on
If you're having
Monday
a different
and
name
Parks
on
and
every
Rec.
single one, that's a
following it.
different.
Right,
So,
different cost.
And next week is,
It's a
next
totally
week is
different
the
cost.
architectural review,
Yes,
correct?
right, I'm
So-
on the agenda for that, with
So Laura, we have to go through the architecture review board to do that, so we're going there next week also, see that's approved.
And some of it, if, to your point, maybe we can figure out a way to make the flag and not have, and have something, a separate,
Like an iron.
something.
Oh, so you don't have to have
So that we
each
don't have to
flag
have everyone be an
specifically.
individual flag
Yeah.
made, which is, I think.
They said, and when I did talk to Sinorama about that, because I thought it would, drive the price way up, and they said it really wouldn't, so we could have like individual names of businesses and
awesome.
families, and it wouldn't be.
Oh,
And also, if it is a sponsor that gives the most amount, it would not just be one, we'd probably give them
Couple of
whatever.
flags.
Yeah, it would be great, so. let's see.
So, yeah, we do have
So as
quick.
soon as we know if we can do that, I think
Absolutely,
we've got
we'll
all
do
the
this
other, Sarah and I have been working on, what they get for this amount, what they get for this
Right.
amount, so kind of have a outline of that.
When do you think that can be?
We need to powwow on that, because I need to get Jane, our designer, on that, working on that.
Well, we have that, we just don't know that we can do the banners, because we don't know that the banners are approved yet.
Right,
Okay, so that's
we'll
next
know, we'll
week.
know that next week,
Hopefully next
yeah.
week we'll know.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, general discussion now, we do need somebody to lead the time capsule, like completely lead it. The display case, was approved in the Monuments and Ceremonies for January. And March Historical Society is doing it, but in January, we're doing it, and Kate and Lisa
Right,
are gonna be in charge of that.
we just have to find out when we can get it.
Right.
You know, like if it's early January, or if you can get in before the holidays, or what the scenario is.
Okay, and we did earmark like $100 for, whatever on that.
I have a question. Do you mean the thing is gonna be complete by January, or you're gonna start collecting things? Because it'd be nice to have things in the time capsule of this year.
So that's not the town capsule. So we were talking about the town display case.
Oh, okay,
So the
sorry.
town display case, the 2020 committee has a town display case for the month of January. The time capsule is a different thing, and that could be done anytime during the year. We may have it at an anniversary day, or we may have it in the October Heritage Day, or it may be its own thing. So that's completely different, so that's a way later on in the year, so we have time for that.
Was
Thank you,
there-
sorry.
Was there a discussion at one point about the time capsule being involved in the schools somehow? Like that might be
Yeah.
a school thing?
Yes,
Never,
I talked to somebody from the school that did it in Bridgeport, and he was, every grade or every school in Bridgeport got to put one thing in, you know what I mean? Because you can have a lot of contributions, and
Yeah.
so there's a whole way of deciding what goes in there.
Oh, yeah.
You have to put a whole set of rules together.
A whole set of rules together, maybe we'll do it like that, like every school gets to put one item in, or
Yeah.
and some other organization gets to put another, whatever.
We don't wanna
Yes,
clutter up the
definitely.
time capsule.
When
Marie
is
Kondo
the-
time capsule.
when is the time capsule gonna be opened, so, in
And I
100
didn't
years
have to
or
decide
something,
that.
do we
I
know?
would give it 50 years, but
I wonder if we
Next,
could get
I'm
another,
sorry.
Let the next group figure that out.
maybe we could get
Some of this can be.
another subcommittee together just to start talking about that. If you, I
Yeah.
think the library's heading it, and you have some really great ideas about guidelines and stuff like that. Maybe we should set up something just to.
Okay, and I'll
Start
invite the
it.
staff
Go
at the
for
high
it,
school
yeah.
to do it
Yeah.
in Bridgeport.
The library is heading it up?
the library will head up the time capsule.
Right.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Would it end up being somewhere at the library
I
then?
don't know.
That's
Yeah, we'll
so
have to
cool.
decide.
You have to, I know there are a lot of
You gotta choose a place where,
that won't be
like,
changed.
the town hall or something. The library's recently changed, just as an example.
Yeah, yeah. I know there
Don't
is
put
one.
it near those underground tanks.
Right?
And we did, in my $75,000, there's a few $1,000s there for the time capsule. The earmark there as well, so it's not- So we'll get together, we'll get a subcommittee.
This is an example of a time capsule I did 25 years ago. It's already been moved twice.
Wow.
Like the Liberty Bell, we should get a separate.
Yeah, traveling. So a general discussion, anybody have any other comments or questions or? No? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Wait, before we adjourn, can I just say that Maggie and Al have put so much, I mean, I know everyone here, thank you so much for your time, but I mean, the number of late nights, emails, I didn't make it to my head swim how much you two were putting into this, so just want to thank you. So, motion to adjourn?
Second.
So moved.
Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, so moved. Thank you very much.